Trusty Ape returns. Trying to figure out what's going on with the mic because it seemed like it was popping a bit. Turn this back on. Yeah, at some point last night, some back a little bit of the stream, I heard some crackling. So yeah, fashionably late. Sorry, I'm late. Yeah, I stream scheduled and shit. Actually, would have started earlier, but as it goes, Murphy's Law. Had an issue with my payroll not coming through this morning, so I had to wait. Finally, did come through. Um, but otherwise, I would have been on a fucking train anyway. And so ended up having to go out. So those clippers seized up on me last night, and then I tried them again this morning. They still weren't working. So my brilliant ass went and tried to see if I could. So I took this thing off, and I couldn't get it back on. So but that's all right. I've had these clippers for like almost 10 years now. My drummer gave these to me when I was still out friggin' spinning around in that other car. So, yeah, it still works. It may be salvageable, but not for me right now. So I went and got a brand new set of clippers. I'm gonna open them up. Finish what I started, and then open up the room a little bit, maybe. Talking about this thing called the homeless brain and how it kind of sticks with you even when you get into a place, like this piece of styrofoam probably won't see the trash can because I will probably try to find a way to use it for something, that type of thing, or wander around picking up cigarette butts even when you're not broke. Try not to do that. Yeah, it's kind of gross, but I mean, again, I try to get the tobacco out of them, so I'm not putting my mouth somewhere where others have been. Honestly, with all the attachments. Another thing I do is I will often look at spaces, empty lots, and stuff like that as I'm walking around. I think, ooh, that looks like a cool little kick it spot, or ooh, that looks like a good place to camp out. They camp out over there. Oh no, batteries not included. Get batteries for the little one. These, maybe we can find a usage for these. Yeah, so that's kind of the way I think about where, I'll see little plots of land and think, I could build like a little tiny home there. So I'm looking at now. I don't think I'll ever be able to be a homeowner. I don't know. Unless I get one of those loans and hang out the ass for the rest of my life. Oh, they did give me a loan. Okay. I was like, you motherfucker better give me a loan. But I don't know. I think tiny home living is probably where it's at. I think I could probably build one on the cheap myself, which is what I've been looking into kind of. There's a house built, a tiny home. It's like trying to think of things in those terms, like as a person who's been without resources, like, oh well, can I use this thing as a resource? Hey, Spooky, good to see you. Spooky bed hair in the house. Sorry about the crinkly crunch one. I'm gonna oil up my new clippers here. It goes this way. A little protective piece of tape over it, or film, some kind. Probably not biodegradable. All the plastic. Yeah. Also tend to notice people because not all unhomed people look unhomed. So there's certain things you look for in their mannerisms or their habits. You start to notice that some people are unhomed, but they still, have good upkeep. Oh no. What was that? Something fell back there. I have to move this. I forget that fell back there. I probably won't remember to look for it later. Okay, good. Nothing super important. Yeah, okay. Yeah, people who have been, without their own stable environment, whatever that may, be, they tend to keep their head on a swivel. They're a lot more observant. They're watching out for people trying to take advantage of them because vulnerable people tend to get taken advantage of. That's what's going on when you don't have a place. You're pretty vulnerable. And that sounds nice though. Oil the blade. See, I'll pick other things up off the street too. I've been doing this since I was younger too. I always had a fascination with safety pins and paper clips, and I always picked them up. Rubber bands, discarded jewelry, or lost jewelry, I guess. Like the cheap kind. So just I pick those things up and save them. Zip ties. Zip ties are another one I always pick up and save. Zip ties. I was thinking I have to clear this little shelf off again, but I've got a bunch of little knickknacks in here that serve as examples for that. Just like weird shit I found and picked up off the ground and saved in my toolkit. Oh, actually, I can probably go get you my tool bag and show you too. So yeah, it's definitely a thing. I mean, makes you look at resources differently. Makes you look at what's useful differently. Hey, Housey. Yes. Exactly. Collecting, it's a great way of putting it. Collecting supplies, things you think will be useful, but you might not ever use. And that's usually the way it goes. Most of the stuff sits around unused, but I'm always like, well, if I ever need one of those, I've got it in here, just in case. But hey, Red Rum, camping or desert island mentality. Yes, something very much like that. This is how it feels. Sometimes, like when you're out here, like there's not. I guess you're kind of trying to make up for something that you don't have, maybe. But you're also there's like a utilitarian aspect to it, where it's like, again, don't want to be wasteful. I'm against being wasteful. I'm against, so there we go. Sorry. Turn on my vibrator there. Yeah, like these things. Again, I don't want to throw them away. And I think I can find a use for them. And so I'll save them. I'll throw this thing away though. That's Michael Jordan. I made the shot. Right? And yeah, lost my train of thought. But we're very much on the same page there. What's up, William? The gang's all here. I don't know if I mean, I've had this conversation quite a bit with Kat, but I don't know if any of y'all have experienced homelessness. Oh, I like that. For any extended period of time, like it'll definitely do a number on you. But again, I think there's like a certain type of mentality where I was always that way a little bit, and so it's not something I really like anticipate. I mean, I can kind of adapt the behaviors to maybe be more like practical and beneficial. So not just picking up random shit that actually has no utility, but actually like oh yeah, no, these things, I do use these things, like more of that. Like this wire, I don't know what I'm going to use it for. I think it's copper. No, it's like copper coated. But I'm like, I could, find some use for this wire. And so far, I've used it for scraping my marijuana pipe. So, but hey, it never hurts to have some wire. We'll do something with it. This episode brought to you by Monster Energy Drink. So I got quite a bit of the hair off before but yeah, you can see there's still some imperfections there, especially on the back and the far back. I still got these over here around my ears. So probably not as bad in the camera over there, but I notice it. It's my fucking head, so of course I notice it. I'm super sensitive too, so I can feel it. Like the little hairs they're still on the back of my neck, and they blow. I'm like, where are they? Oh yeah, Red Rum. You've been homeless before as well. Yeah, bouncing around couches. That's an interesting one too, because like I've always like so if I'm like staying like on a friend's couch, usually I'll just like but if I'm like I've been in a few squat houses where it's like a lot of people share that couch, and so like in the morning before I leave, I'll go like dig through the cushions. You're like, well, making sure I didn't lose anything. Oh, get all the change off my whatever you got to do, man. Whatever you got to do. Yeah, I think a lot of it's reactionary too. Like, it's not like ooh shiny thing, but it's like, oh, I have an immediate attraction to that object, and so I'm going to pick it up. Like, there's no hesitation about it, because you think like if you hesitate, the next minute it could be gone, right? Like somebody else might take it, or it might blow away in the wind or something. Who knows? It's like the person who sees a dollar bill on the ground. It's like most people who see a dollar bill on the ground, they'd be like, yeah, it's just a dollar, whatever. But like me, no, that's my dollar. Anybody want? No, not your dollar. I'm taking it. No, that's my dollar. And it could be. I don't do that with pennies, but dimes, yeah. If I see dimes, I take dimes. Pennies, nickels, nah. Dimes, yeah. camping spots under the table at work. Oh, I see. Got you. Homeless in South Carolina is pretty doable. Well, I mean, we've got a bit of that here, but it's the overcrowdedness that makes it freaking, it's too much, you know. People are just, even the homeless are piled on top of each other. So I kept hearing about this trail, and I was like, "What trail is that?" It's weird because everybody's acting like it was real close by, nearby my work. And so I went down there the day before yesterday. Yeah, I think it was Friday or Saturday. Sure. What day is today? Saturday. And I got down there early, and I had happened to notice when I was riding the bus in that there were a couple of tents pitched alongside of this creek over here. So I walked down that street, which is like, so the bike trail that I've shown you guys that I ride on is like here, and then the road winds like around this way, and then there's a cross street here, and then there's another trail going this way. And so all the tents are on this side of the trail. Like, so on one side of the bridge, it's all clear and pretty. On the other side of the bridge is where they let all the people live in the tents. And so that's the trail that everybody's been talking about. It's like, oh, okay, that's where a lot of these people live. Okay, yeah, got it. So I went down there to visit, and I was surprised though because it was, you know, still pretty clean. Um, you know, they've got facilities out there for them and stuff, so that's cool. And so I try to like explore areas like that now. I'd be like, okay, this is where it's kind of cool. Yeah, I agree, Halsey. Camping is good for health. Um, and I mean, I enjoy, you know, camping in the outdoors, but you know, city camping is a whole other type of thing. You know, it's like some cities crack down on it really hard, and then other cities try to accommodate and give people areas, which is what we're doing around here. William, you dirty raccoon, you. We have an event coming up in 5 days, actually. Um, I left the pamphlet at mom's, but I wanted to attend it, but it doesn't seem doable for me um, because I had my visit with my kid the very next day. So I really need to be down here. And I don't see a way to make that work right now. Maybe I could, but anyway, but it's basically, it's a public camp out, so it's a fundraiser where, like, so we basically, you know, they put on like a barbecue, and there's events and activities, and they're encouraging people to come out, and you know, everybody basically pays for a camping spot. You know, all of the homed people, but basically they just go out and hang out with the unhomed people and go camp out with them for the night. And it's like, okay, and then everybody barbecues and sings kumbaya. It'll be great. It'll be great. No, actually, I think it sounds actually really awesome. Um, we've got a spot up where I just came from, where, yeah, van life or RV life. People just go out there and they park and they set up shop. They say, "This is where I'm staying now." And it's right along. It's on a floodplain, so that's the shitty part about it. And it did flood out a couple of months ago, and everybody who was out there was basically just kind of stuck there because their vehicles were all fucking submerged quite a bit, you know. But it's like you do what you have to do in that situation, and so the city's accommodated them and been like, okay. I think I actually covered that here on when we were watching the news one night. They had a news story about it, and you know, so I'm fairly close to that spot. Um, I can't remember how many they said um, were out there, but it's quite a few. Hey, Mike. Oh, Key. I was like, I read Kev there. I was like, I don't think I'm doing that. I'm probably confusing people more than anything. I mean, I did the nomadic lifestyle for a while. Granted, I was in a bad way. Like, so when I was doing that, I was using, and I wasn't in a toxic relationship. So it was like, okay, now it probably wouldn't be so bad. But being a nomad in a fucking Ford Mustang with all my shit, not doable. Definitely need a bigger vehicle. Definitely need a bigger vehicle. And see, I don't know. I like the idea of home ownership in a way. I just think people are kind of greedy about it, like property and stuff like that. Like, you know, I don't. I dig like stewardship, so that's why I say I'd rather have like a big piece of land and a tiny little house, and then people can go camp out on my land. I'm not gonna be like some greedy fucking get off my lawn, motherfucker. Like, but see, I'm kind of like a fucking commie in that way or something, I guess. But I prefer to have more open space. So and that's kind of conducive too to like an RV or a van. It's like you just have the plot to park it, and and a bunch of trees around you. You have shade and privacy, and then you can grow shit, and that's cool. I don't know. It sounds like it works for me. My ex and I were going to get a van years ago. Well, she ended up getting a van. She ended up losing it after we were separated and stuff. But yeah, it was kind of the same idea. My One of my bandmates, he has a YouTube channel too, and he goes out traveling around. He wrecked his truck, but his truck got wrecked. I shouldn't say he wrecked it. He got T-boned. He got ran into. It was the other driver's fault. But anyway, neither here nor there. He had the whole back of it set up, so he had a camper shell, and he had a bed with a shelf, and he could just pull it out, take the stuff he needed out of his shelf, do his thing, push it back in, like slide out on rollers, and then he could hop in the back when he was done and just sleep in the back of his pickup. And it was a really awesome setup he built. It sucks that it got smashed, but I thought that was really cool. And so that was kind of his way of just travel all over the state, stay in his car, and film videos of him doing what he does, which is like rock hounding and searching for his metal detecting and stuff like that. So here are my neighbors. I got a 1975 fifth wheel camper, free to get home, but it needs some serious work. Ooh. Shut the window. But I'm all, where is it? Can I? No, I need a truck. Can't tow that type of shit on the back of my car. Actually, I have seen somebody put a tow hitch on the back of a Mustang. They used to own like a little pop-up trailer on the back. So yeah, my brain still works that way. I'm still like, even now, like I got a place to stay, but I'm like, oh, if I didn't have this place to stay, or even if I was just out there for the night for some reason, it was like that night. I don't know if I told you guys this story. Maybe back when I was in the office, um, there was one night I had um, locked myself. So I made a couple friends out there, some fishermen down by the river down there, um, who were pretty well supplied, and so they hooked me up with some liquid LSD one time, and so I was fucking in there frying balls, and I locked myself out of the fucking office, and so I ended up kind of hanging around for the night. I hung out with one of the homeless dudes who lived out there for a while, and he just had like a couch and a tarp and his clothes. What's up, Sterling? Good to see you. And but I did, yeah, and I didn't even. I locked myself out that night. I didn't have. I think I only had my pants and my slippers. I didn't even have a shirt. And luckily it wasn't too cold. But yeah, I did that whole thing. Like I had to figure out a way to wrap myself up, find some shelter. And then I finally got back into the lower portion of the office, and I hung out in there. And they have like a public uh, community space there. So I was able to lay down on the couch in there for a little bit until the place opened up. And then I snuck back out. And yeah, yeah, it was a trip. But I just immediately I snapped back into that mindset. Like as soon as I realized that I was locked out, no phone, no keys, no nothing, and I'm like, fuck, fuck, fuck. But it was like, okay, well now it's survival mode. It's like, how am I going to shelter myself from this wind? And how am I going to, you know? And I went on all night in the better portion of the day like that. And I finally started to come down off the LSD, and I went back up into the office space. And I've been up there a couple of times, and it was closed that day, so the public part of it wasn't open. I had to wait. I waited till somebody was coming out of the office, and I positioned myself in the doorway too, where I was like, I knocked on the door, and when they opened it, like I wouldn't let them close it. It kind of freaked him out. I was like, no, seriously, I just need to go get my keys. Like my keys are in there, my door is open. I just locked myself out, like. And she was tripped out, but I was like, "No, I'm getting in. Like I'm coming in. You're not." And once that happened, once she saw that I was legit, she was like, "Oh, okay." I thought you were some kind of, but I must have looked fucked up, man. I must have really fucked up that day. And I was. And that's like, psychedelics and shit. I don't know. It's not like some people would just like break down, freak out, start, you know, going to everybody for help. See, and I'm the type of person that I don't go to other people for help. And that's one of the reasons I end up in these situations, right? But it's also like one of the reasons that that you have that different mentality where you're like you don't really feel like anybody can help you. Why would you ask somebody for help? They're not going to help you. you know what is it you want from me? Everything. um Peru lady, yeah. Surprised no homeless people have thought of making a houseboat since we live right next to Lake Michigan. No taxes or anything. Well, I don't know what the laws are like out there, but here, I think some people have tried that, and there's various agencies that will try to prevent you from living on the water, unless you're under very specific conditions. Now, if you're able to like go out into the ocean, nobody's really going to fuck with you, right? But like when you're in the rivers or whatever in the within the city limits and shit, then you're gonna have like the sheriffs and the rangers are gonna be out there, and they're policing for people like that. Like you can't have your boat like moored up somewhere or set. I always forget what you call it, waving the anchor, anchored in, um, like out in the rivers and stuff like that for any period of time. So they're gonna come out there and see what you're doing. Then if you get a spot in the marina, that's a different story. The marina, people usually won't fuck with you, but you have to pay for those. So again, then there's the rent issue. It's kind of like living at a campground. But I don't know. It seems like if you travel from place to place frequently enough, you might just get away with it as long as you don't stay in one place for too long. Also, you'd like to see people do experiments on living as exclusively as possible on the cast off items or garbage of others from residential and industrial sources. That would be really something there. I tell people all the time to ask. I've worked at a store for 28 years. I'm willing to pay for food for a few days. No liquor or six. Just don't steal from the store. Yes, rude lady, exactly. I know a lot of people are like that. Like a lot of the restaurants around here and stuff. Um, Little Caesars specifically. Little Caesars, they usually at the end of the night they throw out a bunch of pizzas. So the deal is like instead of tossing them in the garbage now, they'll put them on top of the dumpsters so that people, because they know they're like we're gonna toss all these pizzas out, and all those people are gonna go dig through the fucking dumpsters. They make a mess. Might as well just leave these pizzas on top of the dumpsters so people can just come grab them. And they're usually pretty good about that. Yes. And I too, I'm like, no, no, I won't go there. I won't go there. Repurposed garbage, trash monkey. No idea what else. Yeah, I mean, okay, so I guess I can just show those odds and ends I have here. Those are just gloves. I found this. No, there's a base to it too. It was like one of those foot pumps, but I guess the hose part came out. So I was like, okay, well, it still kind of pumps air. So I'll use it for something. How about this? Yeah. Need a break, anyone? I actually have a full brake set up in here. Two? Oh no, those are just clips. Yes. Yeah. I got a bunch of shit like this. Just you know what half the shit is? I know what these are, but oh, that one's broken. I don't know what I could use that one for, but the threads are still good on one side. There's crack down the middle. Just so I've got like just all kinds of shit like this. Nuts and bolts in this one, and this is mostly car stuff. Yeah, I started saving all the car stuff when I had my Corolla because I had to friggin' rebuild the front end, sort of. My bumper was a freaking 2x4. But hey, it worked. Sold that thing for $100. Ah, yes, thank you for shilling, Spooky. Do shill the channels. All right, it's almost 2:30. All right. I think I've been running my mouth enough. Did I already? All right. I don't remember if I did, but maybe I thought about sharing it, and I was like, nah, everybody does want to add anything. The option's always there. Otherwise, hey, use these things. So I don't know if it's something that like you unprogram, like when you think this way. A crocheted sleeping mat. Well, I mean, I would. Oh yeah. My Wi-Fi hates StreamYard too. I need to get a different hotspot. Besides, I have to turn this one in soon anyway. But yeah, I feel like it's not as good as the last one I had. I do have a bed right now. In fact, I'm sitting on it. So I am in a room. So that's not to worry right now. I'm just trying to maintain it. But coming out of, well, let's see. Last year I spent 8 months homeless, and I was in a place before that, and so Yeah, so let's see. So since over the last 10 years, I spent probably more than half of it without a place. And then anytime I have had a place, it's like here I'm renting a garage, or I was renting a room for a while there. So I've never had my own place, like my own place. But yeah, so it's like, do you really need your own place? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if you want to set a sleeping mat, I could probably throw you some funds for that too. That'd be cool. Because I do still like to camp out and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's been weird. Like my trying to this time around to maintain this job and this place, and like where I'm at now, it's a lot more obvious when I go into this mode, especially if I'm really broke. That's it definitely kicks in when you're super broke. But it's always there where you're always like, shiny thing, useful thing, and people are looking at you doing this, you know, at the bus stop, and it's like I'm the dude who's supposed to. But no, I'm like wandering around, like, what's that thing? Oh, yeah. No. I guess it's something people aren't really used to. Hey, James Apperson, good to see you. Um, what's interesting though is I'm getting to know a lot of the local unhome people, and because I'm not what's the word I'm looking for. There's no I don't see the distinction between them and I, and it's not like some of the other people that I work with. It's like because I'll like shake people's hands or whatever, and then some people will be like, "Oh, you better go wash your hands," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'll get around to it." But then they're like, I literally don't want to touch that person. They're dirty. And it's like, I just don't have that mentality. I don't, and I'm not afraid that. Oh no, even if they're acting a little kooky, like they're not gonna freak out on me, man, or I'm not gonna get robbed today. No, I'm not worried about all that shit. And that's what it seems like people are constantly afraid of. Well, they're all high and they're all desperate, so they're gonna do something horrible, or they're gonna like give me some crazy disease. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it could happen, but that could happen with anybody, really. I see people who don't have homes as being more vulnerable than me, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it is. Let's see. Maybe there's something about this we can watch. Oh no. What happened? Oh, I know what happened. My Chromebook switches from night mode to day mode automatically, and it always trips me out. Oh, Deconverted Man is live. Mm, hmm. Oh, yeah, here you go. One from Hop, Skip, and a Jump Away. It's actually where my son lives. It's a little bit older. This one's a year old, but still relevant.
Oh, hey, how's business?
Great. That loan has really worked wonders.
That's what US Bank is for.
And you're growing in California.
Yep, SoCal, NorCal, Monterey, all day. Anaheim, big time.
US Bank, ranked #1 in customer satisfaction with retail.
Oakland, California. California sure does have a homeless problem. Driving around town, there's homeless encampments all over the place. They're on the sides of the roads and dirt lots. There's long stretches of them on sidewalks. Some are in tents, some are in RVs, some are actual encampments with makeshift structures where hundreds of people gather into communities. It's estimated there's about 5,000 homeless individuals throughout the city of Oakland, but nobody really knows the exact answer. And the number of people on the streets in Oakland's nearly doubled in the last 2 years alone. A lot of that has to do with the high cost of living in the Bay Area. Apartments that were once $1,000 a month now cost closer to $3,000 a month. A lot of the homeless are addicts, but there's no real one reason homelessness is so high in Oakland. If you ask 10 homeless people why they live on the streets, you're going to get 10 different answers. Look at this one in West Oakland. This one is sort of sanctioned by the city, meaning they don't run them off. Sometimes it's easier to keep them in one place so they can monitor them and provide support. But this problem's impacting the community in a big way. Local businesses complain about losing customers. I mean, would you want to park near here to shop? Residents complain about homeless people stealing from them. Neighbors complain about loud noise and trash. Some say helping the homeless is backfiring. And the Oakland police are already stretched thin because of low numbers. There's many reasons for that: vaccine mandates, early retirements, and being defunded. Now, I spent 2 days driving around Oakland looking at how run down this once proud city's become. And along the way, I recorded all the homeless camps I saw. But there was one particular homeless camp that I stumbled onto, which put into perspective the state of homelessness here in Oakland and actually changed my perspective on the homeless problem in general. So I was driving around on the west side of town. I came across a huge makeshift camp made up of RVs and improvised shelters, something that looked like what you would see in a third world country. It was under a freeway overpass across the street from a public park in an abandoned area of former years. As I learned, the RVs parked here were actually the working poor, people who had decent jobs but still couldn't afford a place to live in Oakland. Some are even doctors who were new to the city and had to save
Damn the internet. No, it's mine. I don't know why it does this sometimes. Like I said, this hotspot is a lot worse than the last one, so it doesn't self-correct here. I don't know if we're gonna go through this whole video anyway, it's like 41 minutes, but let's go in trash box. I'm sorry. Looks like a pretty good video. I've never watched this one before. He's covering a lot of areas that I know. Uh-oh. It's getting worse. Okay. Are we back? Give this another try.
up enough money to afford a down payment on their first apartments. But many of the people outside of the homeless RV park were people who had been here for a long time. Some were trying to save money to change their situation. Despite the way it looks from the street, this camp was well organized. There's even leaders here who enforce rules, and there's even camp security. It's a camp with community pride and progress. And as I learned, a lot of the people in this camp are actually trying to make this temporary homeless camp their permanent home. Their goal is to get Caltrans to donate the land to a nonprofit they had set up so they could raise money to build a permanent village of tiny homes where they would then live. So they were squatting here until they could get agencies to help them with their goals. As they would explain to me, they'd be getting a job and a house at the same time, since their jobs would be building their new homes. And then after their village was built, their jobs would be managing their village. They're serious about it. This man goes by Ohio. He founded this makeshift camp 15 years ago.
Damn, this is pretty deep. He's going into it. Yeah, and these places exist friggin' all up and down California too. I mean, Oakland's a pretty extreme example of places where you have like a lot of people concentrated in one area doing this. But these we have these all over California. And it's like there's so much space dedicated to the infrastructure that goes unused, and it ends up being abandoned. And then they're like, well, that's city property. And we go, but you're not using it. And then you end up with loads of people squatting there and saying, well, fuck it, give us the land because you're not managing it. You know, and it's a big problem. So we do like the train yard on the way to my house. Bunch of trains just sitting there, not going anywhere. We're not hauling goods. It's just, why is it there? Why isn't the land being used for or repurposed for something like this? Because we have an abundance of land. It's just all owned by the state. It's all owned by the cities, and they're not willing to give any of it up, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if this buffering issue is going to sort itself out or not. I really kind of want to keep watching this video now.
We started feeding people out of my house. And then me and my wife ended up separated, and I ended up in the streets. That was about 15 years ago. I ended up down here. I was the first one down here, and the police ran me out of here.
You were the first one here.
First one here. There was no tents, no nothing. I had a black Dodge Dakota. I was sleeping in. I was scrapping metal at that time. And then I got sick from being down here and all this stuff. See, these people get sick. You get sick from, not from the COVID, not from none of that, from the garbage that people come dump. These aren't the people that's dumping this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, yeah.
You can tell. These aren't the people that's dumping this stuff.
No.
Cars are coming in here, trucks are coming here, loads coming here, and dumping stuff here. And so the
Right, and this is true. I mean, there are unhomed people who do not manage their spaces well, but as this guy is pointing out, also you get a lot of people who come to these areas where people are in camp, who have homes, who have garbage service, who have money to go to the dump, but they want to save that money, so they dump their shit near homeless camps because they're like, well, fuck it. Either that, or in some cases, homeless people will show up at those areas that are used as dump sites and clean them up. And people don't really see that too much. They will clean up those spaces and then utilize them and be like, no, it was full of trash. I cleaned that trash up, and now I'm going to sit here and keep it clean. And, actually dealt with a person like that the other day on kind of a smaller scale. Was cleaning up a park, and that park was part of the space that I was designated to secure. But I was like, well, while I appreciate you cleaning up the trash here, you still can't hang out here all day because that's against the rules. And, of course, I wasn't going to be super cop about it, but that person is still angry with me. I have to deal with them pretty much every day. So I was like, oh, no. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not dangerous to, when you go into those circles, especially if you yourself are, if you're a woman, and obviously dealing with men is going to be a safety concern. If you're, I don't know whether or not you're very able-bodied, self-defense, there are predators out there. I'm not saying that just because they're homeless and they're possibly still vulnerable, they could not be predatory. That's absolutely a fact. And in some cases, in many cases, if these are people that see you as having a privilege that they don't have, and they feel like they are victimized by a system that includes you, then you are going to be part of that system in their minds. So it doesn't matter what your intentions are. You come down into their space, you're an invader in a way, and it's hard for them to, it's hard for people who are unhomed to see people who have homes as equals to them, because they feel like, well, you have this privilege, you have this thing that I don't have, and therefore you can never understand my perspective unless you've lost that thing, and I think that's true. I think to anybody who has never ever lived out on the streets or lived out in a car and dealt with that for some significant period of time, you can't really know all the trials that people like that deal with. But that doesn't mean you can't be empathetic, but you should always be cautious.
The rats are the rat problem that we have are from people that are dumping. So I had a tent down here for a long time, and then just about a couple of months ago, they moved me into my apartment.
How long were you here?
I was here about 15 years.
15 years,
Yeah.
living in a Dakota.
Yeah.
And you finally
A tent and a Dakota.
and you finally got out of here after 15 years.
Yeah.
How did you get out of here?
Huh?
How did you get out of here?
Focus. I'm not a man. I could live on the street. I could survive on the street, but I don't belong on the street. None of us belong on the street. A lot of these people on the street are productive members of society. Doctors, lawyers, dentists, secretaries, construction workers, electricians, plumbers, mechanics. All these people here have a trade, and they've been pushed out by these .comers, by how Oakland has took the rent control and put it on stable. So now the people that, because they're unstable, these guys come in here, they build these places, and now a studio costs $3,000. A studio? Come on, who pays $3,000 for a studio? A studio costs $3,000, so that's what happens when you get pushed out and there's no rent control. And Berkeley has rent control, but we don't.
So what did you saved up money and were able to get a cheap place? Is that how you got? Or
No,
the
there's
city-
programs. Project Dignity and BACS is a good program to hang with, and these programs will help you get out of here. As long as you stay focused, as long as you stay on their backs, they're going to help you get out of here. And I stayed on them, I didn't want to survive, and I didn't want to live here. I didn't want to die here. I didn't want to die on the streets. That's what I didn't want to do. And so I stayed on their backs. Project Dignity got me into a program called Safer Ground. Safer Ground put me in a days in out there in East Oakland. I stayed out there for like 4 months. Then my housing came through. BACS helped me with housing and get into the program. I got into BACS program. Then they helped me get into a boat. Then a boat placed me into a place. These programs work if you know how to get into the system.
So given
Now, the main problem here we've already addressed a bit is a lot of these people are going to have mental health issues. They're going to have alcohol and substance dependence issues. And as long as those issues aren't being fully addressed, none of these programs are going to work out for them long term, right? Because one of the contingencies is going to be that you stay sober. One of the contingencies is going to be that you're attending, whatever certain meetings or classes or things like that. And these people don't have the means to achieve that, right? So in some sense, it's like, yes, you can give the person a job and the opportunity for housing. But again, I always go back to, if they don't have the opportunity for adequate health care, including physical and mental health, then they're going to have some obstacle in their way that is insurmountable. And so like those things should be incorporated into it. In the center we have up here near my job, they include all of those things. So there is healthcare, physical and mental health care available at the center, as well as resources for food. So that puts all those things out there. But not every community has that type of a program, or in some instances, it's a long wait to get into that program. So you have to be able to have the fortitude, the patience to enroll in the program and wait until your number gets called to actually attend the program, right? Because we have so many people in need and not enough people. It's really not enough people who are willing to donate time to make this happen, because all this stuff has got to be nonprofit volunteer shit at this point. Yeah, absolutely agree. It makes you feel like a castaway dealing with mental illness, but not addressing the issues can deteriorate you very quickly. It's true, Red Rum. And there's a lot of people with less discernible mental illnesses. I wanted to do another one on invisible illnesses, people with that are like on the ASD spectrum. There are physical illnesses like fibromyalgia. It's out there, but people can't see it. It can't be quantified, but we know that fibromyalgia exists, right? And it's like, okay, so as long as you have these invisible illnesses, and these people need doctors, but the way we classify what is a medical emergency, people with anxiety disorders have a panic attack, and they're like, well, how do we resolve this? I don't know. Here's a paper bag. No, you need qualified medical professionals who are out there in the community, and it can't be for profit. It has to be a community resource. Anytime it's for profit, it's going to be made unavailable to economically disadvantaged people, and so that's a problem.
how much is it? Did you have to pay to get a place? Did the city pay for everything, and you just
The city basically paid for my first, last, and deposit, and I pay rent every month.
and the rent's cheaper than it would be if you?
Yeah.
What's the rent cost?
My rent is $276 a month.
And who pays for the rest of that?
I guess housing does.
Like the city?
So this is an amazing deal. This man's on rental assistance paying less than $300 a month. He has his own place, and he got his first and last month's his deposit paid by the city, right? Now, somebody like me, right? I was living in a vehicle at the time. I couldn't even get on the housing list. And we're talking about last year. Last year, I went down to this place, and they said, "Well, as long as you have the vehicle, you don't qualify for emergency shelter, and we'll put you on the housing list, but you're on the regular waiting list. You're not on the crisis list, okay? Because you have a vehicle. You can live in the vehicle. Doesn't matter." Okay. So now when I'm paying in my rental, and I only had to pay it 1 month so I didn't have to pay first and last. It was just basically the last month's deposit and the rent. And I was able to split the deposit up into 2 payments, and I'm paying $800 a month here, and that's for a single room, shared kitchen, shared bathroom, which is cool. Yeah, he's paying less than $300 a month on housing, and has his own apartment, from what I just gathered. Wow, it's amazing. I mean, oh wow. Really, yes, that's a lot to deal with. COPD, asthma, diabetes, neuropathy in hands and feet, post chemo, severe chronic fatigue, and still working full time and taking care of your mom. that's I have a friend who has a similar situation. She's taking care of her grandmother, and dealing with a lot of health issues as well, and can't seem to keep a roommate. I was going to rent a room from her a while ago, and then it ended up getting, no, I think the issue at the time was actually my employment, just before I got into this job. So this was sometime last year. And now it's like a location thing because it'd be too much of a commute for me. But yeah, she's constantly struggling with that. And then, on top of it, toxic relationships and stuff like that too. So other people can drag you down a lot too. Like this guy's story, when he started out, remember he was with his wife and they were doing pretty well. And then when they separated, obviously she got the lion's share of whatever they had, and he ended up living on the streets in his car. And I think that's very telling about the way the system works and the way that society is geared. I mean, this happens to a lot of men. It was like when I split up with my son's mom, we were doing pretty well, but I had stopped working because she wanted to be the breadwinner. And I was like, that's fine, because you're making more money than me right now anyway. And I stopped working, and we started having difficulties in our relationship, and a lot of it was over finances. And so when we left our place, it was kind of an amicable split, but not on good terms. And she had resolved to go and live with her family in Oakland. And basically the deal was I was not welcome there. So if I wanted to stay involved with her and my child at that time, he was like, well, you need to take you and your other kid, go down to Oakland and go stay in a homeless shelter or go stay under a bridge until you get a job down there. And that's how, what I expected what she expected me to do. And I was like, well, that's not what I'm going to do. Instead, I'm going to stay with my friends up here in the Sacramento area where we were living at. And, I ended up getting the job that I had previously at that time back, which was nearby. I was like, no, I don't need to relocate to somewhere where I'm not welcome in the home so that I can stay in a shelter with my kid, right? But that their mentality was like, well, you're the man. This is what you should do to hold your family together or something. And I was like, that just doesn't seem right to me. There's something really backwards about this, but I don't know. I don't know. You know, what should be expected of you as the male of the household? I don't know. I always thought that was very unreasonable, and it still trips me up to this day.
The city of Oakland or something like that?
Housing authority or
Okay.
something like that.
How long do you get to live cheap like that?
As long as I pay my rent, and as long as I renew my lease, and long as I do what they expect me to do.
There's hundreds of people here. Why don't they?
Because they're still building places for these people.
Yeah, but you're not in a new. You're like in a Days Inn. Or are you in a new place?
I'm in a new
like
apartment.
an affordable, like the new
I have a
unit,
1-bedroom, the Arroyo apartment, the Aurora apartment.
like brand new. The city built
Brand
for
new.
this problem.
No, no. The city didn't build it. A company came from out of state and built 4 complexes.
So that the homeless people have a place to transition to. Now we just don't have enough cheap places for all these people, though. There's thousands.
We
of
do,
people.
but we don't.
Okay, so what part of what they're missing here is this is part of a deal that Governor Newsom signed into effect during the pandemic, where they were going to build these places and put a lot of homeless people up into hotels. And a lot of Californians are pissed off about this because our taxes have gone up and they're calling it socialism. But essentially what they did was they said, we need to get these people off the fucking streets because they're going to spread disease. That was the justification. That was the rationalization. That's how it got passed through. And so, yeah, they pushed to have more affordable housing put up. And so that's part of the state's budget. But in a sense, it's divided differently amongst different communities for various reasons. And so Oakland got a good portion of that money to build this affordable housing. And a lot of other Californians are pissed off about it. And it's one of the major criticisms of Gavin Newsom. So.
There's a system. I'm gonna say this one more time. Where there's a problem, there's a solution. There's a solution to every problem. Just like when you go fishing, if that line breaks, there's a solution to that line breaking. You attach it to another line, and once you attach it to another line, you throw it out there and catch the fish. It's the same with the whole homelessness. You attach it to another line and fish and catch them and send them somewhere else. It's a solution to this problem. We just don't use that solution. There's a big solution. Oakland gets too much money for the homelessness for it not to be for these people. Man, all these vacant buildings, open up a shelter, open up many shelters.
Like right here.
Yeah, you got all this stuff out here. You got all these buildings, you got all these lands, you got all this abandoned stuff, and you talking about there's a solution. Oakland has too much money for it not to be a solution. There's a big solution. I got a big solution for this problem. You can help people. You can get them medical. You can get them back to the workforce. You can do all that through these programs that they got.
Mm-hmm.
It's no way that these people should be homeless.
So, a lot of people say homeless people, they're addicts. They made decisions that they need to. If you want to create a situation where you can live like that, then you deserve to live like that. You made that choice. Like, I don't know. Is that?
I really do. I like this guy. All down the line, he's like, bullshit. No, I mean, there's some degree of truth to it, but, a lot of people, if they become homelessness because of addiction, it's because they didn't feel like the resources were there for them to solve their addiction problem. conversely, a lot of people become homeless and then they become addicted because they're stuck in a cycle of poverty and depression. And that gets overlooked a lot. It's like, no, I, was fairly normal before I ended up on the streets. And then when I ended up on the streets, I got into drugs because, hey, when you're out on the streets, you get paranoid. You don't want to fall asleep out there. Somebody might rape you or take your shit, right? So you want to be more alert. So then you start doing uppers so you don't sleep as much because it makes sense in the homeless brain. What's up, Simos? Good to see you. Sorry about the trash box Wi-Fi, but we're here. We're here, and no, I think this guy has a lot of good stuff to say. So I'm gonna keep trying.
Is that not
Bullshit.
true?
That's all bullshit. You tell those people that think that 90% of these people are using dope, using drugs, that's a lie.
Or like you did, and then that's how they became homeless was
No,
addictions.
no.
So
That's
what percentage of the people out here in this place
Probably 5% of people use drugs.
used or use?
Use drugs. Whatever
Okay.
situation you
So
want
1 out of 20 is an addict. The rest are people like yourself that
that want to get out of here. That want to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not in this lifetime. They were pushed to the streets. These people wasn't addicts. These people didn't use drugs. Some of these people worked in the city. Some of these people work with the councilman. Some of these you have no idea how much education is out here on the street. So they could miss me with that bullshit about the drugs and all that shit. That shit's a lie. All that shit's a lie. Don't believe the hype. It's not true. It's not true at all.
So you think it's just a cost of living problem?
Yeah,
It's just too expensive for people to live.
who can pay $3,000 for a studio?
Why don't they just leave Oakland and go somewhere to Oklahoma where it's $700?
Well, you gotta understand. You gotta understand this. This is their home.
Yeah.
Most of these people were raised here. Most of these people were born here. They shouldn't have to leave where they want to be. I shouldn't have to leave and go to Denver. I'm from Ohio. It's way cheaper in Ohio than it is here.
Mm-hmm.
But I love California. I love California. I love Oakland, California more than anything. So why should I have to leave? Because you decide that you want to put rent control on hold and push us into the street. It's not fair.
Are they going to ever fix it? Or it seems
They're
like
going to have to fix it.
But it seems like it's getting worse. With the cost of living is not going down. I mean,
I just want to say something. To all you rich people that have money, we're the poor people that need to make you rich. So you really need to do something about us that are out here in the streets, because without us, you don't get no money. You're going to go bankrupt because you don't have that poor person working into your warehouses and creating that money for you. So you better really think about we all need each other and start doing this thing the right way, because without the poor people, you can't survive. And that's reality, and that's common sense. This man that runs your plumbing company, that digs your hole, and you want to get rid of him and hire some other cheap labor that don't do it right, you better think about it. All you Clorox people that own these Clorox, you got people that runs your lines, that runs your warehouse, that you done threw in the street. All you people that own these cereal companies, you got people that need to work Costco's, you got people that need to run those forklifts, it's millions of jobs that you need.
And by the way, these are the same people who are claiming about the, illegal immigrant crisis, but they're the ones that are going out and hiring migrant workers who are undocumented specifically because they don't have to pay them a fucking regular living wage, right? Right. Same fucking people, same class of people. Yes, this is a great one there. People make poor decisions in life, and not everyone has the same mentality to know what to do next. Some are just stuck and get taken advantage of. And yeah, that's true too. The other thing I've learned recently is the competition in the job market. Like, I've been working minimum wage for so long because I didn't have a high school equivalency. And it was like, I didn't realize even before I got my high school equivalency, I could have still been competing for wages based on my experience. But I always just went with defeatism. Well, I don't have the high school equivalency, so fuck it. I'll take a fucking minimum wage job, you know? But I had good experience. I had work experience. I just didn't have the confidence to come out and say that to people, you know? So it's like, now I can be like, yeah, I've got my GED, but look at all my fucking work experience. And that's really the qualifier. And if people aren't willing to meet you on that level, then, you know, I don't know what to tell you.
These people to do, but you push them in the street, and now you're talking about there's no work, there's no people to fill the jobs. They're right here in front of you. These people.
Do you
right
think all these hundreds of people here would go to work if there were if they had a place
to
that
go
they
to
could go
work
home
and live?
to?
Yeah.
But they can't. They're not going to go to work living here, is what you're saying.
They can't.
Right.
Who's going to hire a person that can't bathe every day?
Yeah. So a lot of these people haven't showered.
Their nutrition is not right. They're not bathing every day. It's all that shit is real. It's real in this life. If you think it ain't real, come live down here for a week and see what it's real. It's real.
Do you know? Is there anybody that lives here now that I could go in and sit down with them and talk to them? Is that
Go down there and talk to Moose.
Moose?
Go ask for Moose.
Ohio's going to take us to meet Moose, who lives in a shed, and we might be able to go into his shed and see what's going on. Oh, this must be Moose.
Inside the camp, as you can imagine, it smells really bad. They have problems with rats and mud and everything else you think they'd struggle with. Some of these shelters in here are like little forts with rooms made of pallets and sheets and tarps. Some have living rooms and dining rooms and bedrooms. I have to admit, the kid in me would have thought they were cool forts when I was younger. Lots of the people who live here came out to talk to me when they realized I wasn't there to gawk or sneer at them. To be honest, they were just glad somebody would listen to their story.
I want to give big props to this guy actually for doing this. Like, this is pretty amazing. I'm really glad this video exists.
I wanted my hepatitis C gone.
I put off treating mine.
Epclusa treats all main types of chronic hep C. Whatever your type,
We'll give this a break though. We got the trash box. Man, that was deep. That was deep. Brought some tears. Okay. 3:13. I've been streaming for an hour and 21 minutes. I think that's probably a good place to leave off. As I've been saying, I'll probably continue this as a series. I also want to get into invisible illnesses. and other cool shit. I don't have anything planned in the near future. If you'd like to plan something with me, what's the thing? Email stupidmonkeyphilosophy@gmail. Don't email the other one because I haven't gotten those emails in months. So email stupidmonkeyphilosophy@gmail because I have regular access to that one, and you can set up whether here or over on the Stupid Monkey channel for combos because I'm interested in hosting those. But other than that, yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I need to get showered, finish my grooming, and do the normie thing because that's where I'm at right now. Just trying to have a normal ass day in my home. Tomorrow, my cousin is gonna go out of his way, I think, to come and pick me up and help me get my car moved, which is extremely helpful. My cousin's been fucking doing a lot for me lately. And he's like my older brother, the older brother I didn't have, So he helped me get down here when my car broke down in the first place when I was moving in, and got me to my place. And now he's coming back to help me with the car tomorrow. So always appreciate that. Much love to my big cousin. And so yeah, just trying to sort things out and get this homeless brain back in check. It's a daily struggle, but today I've got my bills paid. Actually, I have to go pay my phone bill. That's the one outstanding. So I go pay my phone bill, and then I'll have my bills paid, and got some calls to make, and maybe I'll see y'all around the streams. And as I always say at the end of every stream, because I do the same thing every time I'm on here, much love, be well, be kind, and stay trusty, because these are the most important qualities. If you're not kind, you're not trustworthy, then you're probably a fucking dishonest asshole. I'm just saying, maybe. And yeah, we all need self-love. We all need wellness. Otherwise, we can't be healthy. It's what it means. So consider that. Try to be more compassionate towards your fellow humans and fellow apes, and proceed in life with that mindset, and maybe we'll all be a little bit better off. Until next time.